Story 1. Am I the bumhole for turning around and going home on my way to the airport for a girls' trip? I, a 23-year-old female, was supposed to go on a girls' weekend trip to Spain with my longtime friend of almost 10 years. She's 24, female, and her other female friend, 28, who I was excited to meet. We all live in Germany, but her and her friend live about 3.5 hours away from me, and I live closer to Frankfurt. They decided that they wanted to drive through the night, about 10 hours, and arrive in the morning, and said that I could meet them in their town. I could drive with them. I instead elected to just fly over and meet them there since I live so close to an airport. The day before the trip, she texted me a link to book some tickets to a museum that she and her friend booked. She told me to book for 2 p.m., which is when they booked for. When I clicked the link, the only time slot available was 8:35 a.m. I pretty much was like, whatever, I'll do something else while they're doing that. The night before the trip, I texted her asking her how much I owed her for accommodations and whatever else that we're splitting. This is the second time I've asked her since her friend was the one doing the bookings, and I just assumed I would send them my share when they told me how much it cost. She didn't answer, but I just assumed she was sleeping to prepare for the long drive. The morning of my flight, 3 hours before my flight leaves, she tells me that I had to book my own hotel room because they're having a guy friend come with them that they invited at the last minute. She sent me a link so I could book at the same hotel as them for that night, but all the rooms were fully booked. I searched around the area too, and all rooms were booked or very expensive. I really wanted to go, so I just kind of let it go and prepared myself to spend some extra money for a hotel room for myself in a different hotel. But on the way to the airport, I had a gut feeling that I wasn't going to enjoy myself. So I turned around and went home and sent her a text saying that I was going to sit this one out because I was expecting a girls' trip. She's being short with me now and thinks I'm being unreasonable. Am I the a-hole? No, I don't think that OP is the a-hole in this situation. I think it's unfortunate, that's for sure, that each side had kind of different expectations of what the trip was going to be like, and I think it was exacerbated by the fact that they live cities apart, so during the planning phase and building the itinerary, especially with the third party involved, the friend of a friend, I don't think everything was communicated as crystally clear as it could have been with the level of detail that would have level set expectations over text. Not sure if they had phone calls, but planning things extravagant like this are hard. And especially so when the party involved is divided and spread out and not communicating with the same level of detail. So I think it's right that she followed her gut. I mean, at the end of the day, if she was going to spend all this money and just knew that she wasn't going to have a good time, then I think she made the right call by just cutting it short and not even getting on the plane in the first place. It's a bit crappy, I guess, from the other friend's perspective that she just up and decided to not join on the trip very last minute. But I mean, from that perspective, the friend and the other girlfriend and then the boy that they invited on the trip, it seems like they kind of had an idea of the fun that they were going to have amongst themselves, and they already had everything booked out in that one hotel. If OP was going to be joining and staying at a different hotel, and it seems like she was kind of removed from the whole situation to begin with, so I think that the friends that are still going on the trip, they'll still have a good time regardless. Maybe they wanted to spend some quality time and enjoy the company of OP, but I don't think her mind would have been in it, and I think sometimes you just got to listen to your gut, and maybe next time they can do a better job planning ahead of time and find something that works best for both parties. Story 2. You didn't receive my application. I'll send you one every day. So just to be clear, this is an ongoing issue, compliance, so no nice resolution just yet, but if folks want, I can update when more happens. Also, for clarity, I live in the US, so no universal health care and a lot of out-of-pocket medical expenses. So, to start, over the past 12 months, I've had to, on 3 separate occasions, have to get different medication tests done. First 2 were blood tests, 4 months apart due to different concerns, and another for a non-blood test. What I didn't know was that there was significant out-of-pocket costs for each of these tests, like almost $300 each time, that I wasn't informed of until I got the bill. Well, being paid in a high cost of living city because of my career choice, on top of student loan payments starting back up, and a few unexpected expenses pop up, this was going to be hard to pay off. That's when I decided to apply for a financial assistance program through my insurance. Now, you would think having such a program would be nice of my insurance, which sounds not even close to razor temporary, and that's what I thought too. So I requested an application, filled it out, and mailed it in back in June. Got a confirmation message on my insurance's app that they had gotten the application and to give them 21 business days to review it. I figured, okay, I can wait. And I waited, and waited, and waited, and waited. Finally, in mid-August, I figured I'd check up on the application. And after being bounced around in the phone triage, I finally got to someone in customer service at insurance that doesn't remotely sound like Pfizer Temporary who could give me an answer. Their answer? We never got your proof of income as requested, so we closed out the application. What request? We sent out a letter asking you to submit proof of income, but since we never got a response, we closed out the application. Mind you, this is not a request listed in the initial application form, nor had I ever gotten a letter or email, call, or even a smoke signal from them informing me that they needed this info. But I never got this letter. Well, we sent it out in July, but I never got it. Can you guys please resend this letter and email it to me again and not close out my application? As soon as I get it, I'll send you the info, so I would know where to send it and attach it to the email. The representative agreed, and you would think I get the email and the letter, I submit my pay stubs, end of story. Well, you're wrong, because guess what email never came in? I checked and I rechecked and was chronically refreshing my email inbox and my junk folder. No email came in. So a few days later, I called again. Guess who claimed again that they sent the email, which, once again, I never got. Guess who had to call 3 more times in order to get someone to submit the email while I was on the phone with them before I got the friggin' email? So I finally got the email, attached my pay stubs to the email, and sent it back. Surely I'm done now? Nope. Within a week of doing this, I finally got the paper letter requesting the info. 1 day later, I got a paper letter saying because I never sent them my pay stubs, so they were closing out my application again. Well, as anyone at this point would do, saying I was frustrated and angry would not cover it. Keep in mind, I still had to make attempts to pay off my medical bills, and it's during this time that the 3rd test had to be done, so the bill grew even higher. I was told that this test was covered by my insurance. Clearly, that was not true. So I called again to file a complaint this time and to see what the heck was going on. The Duckers claimed I never emailed them back with my pay stubs, and I would have to reapply. I was even told at one point, in reference to my complaint, I don't know what you're asking me to do, after I clearly told them why I was upset at this point. So I have to, at this point, reapply. Okay, I'll reapply and make sure this time there is absolutely no way you can say you never got my application. I went and printed off a month's worth of pay stubs and printed off 10 copies each. Have to be sure I don't forget those again, right? I then printed off 10 applications, filled them all out, including recalculating how much out-of-pocket medical expenses I've had in the last 12 months. Oh, that test I had after I submitted my application the first time, can't forget to add that. Oh, I had to refill my prescription and had a copay. Better include that too. By the end, the amount listed was more than $200 more than what it was when I first did the application. Now, to make sure they get it. Now, that following Monday, I went into the post office and asked for 10 stamps and to send something via certified mail. Less than $12 to enact my compliance. Every day for that week, a letter, numbered on the envelope, and application went out. The same exact application, signed and dated for the same day, same numbers. The only thing different is the number on the back of the envelope, and that on Monday I sent the first one via certified letter. Next Monday rolls around and not a peep from Pfizer Temporary. Now, let's make sure all 5 letters aren't lost in the mail. Another certified letter, 5 more envelopes and applications with all the same information ready to go. Today I finally got a response via email. Thank you for your application. Please allow us 30 days to review your request. Oh, but this is pretty close to what they said last time. I can't stop sending them in. How will I know for sure they got all the info they needed this time? That is, until they finally approve my application for financial help like they should have done back in July. That is incredibly frustrating, and I can understand how she wanted to escalate it to really shove it in their face. But honestly, I don't think that her revenge mails by sending multiple copies of the application are really going to do anything or trigger anybody at the receiving end. If they were quick enough to just dismiss any applications that they may or may not have received in the first place, I don't think it's really much of a nuisance to them if they're receiving 10, 20, 30 copies of an application that they can easily just toss out. So I'm hoping at least it helps this person blow off some steam amidst all the frustration of the endless cycles of bureaucracy. But at the end of the day, I don't think that it's really going to resolve any issue, and especially when the definition of insanity is to repeat the same thing over and over again but expect different results. I don't think she's really going to make any progress on this. In my opinion, I think it's really just the slowness of the bureaucratic system and the headache that is the insurance system in the U.S. I wouldn't be surprised if after a couple of months they finally catch up on all the backlog of applications and then they see all the submissions, and the whole time it was just a delay in the process and it had nothing to do with things getting lost. And then she's just going to have to deal with the millions of copies of applications that she sent in. But at that point, I mean, at least things will be resolved. I think it just is a very slow system, and it's so infuriating. You just got to find some way to blow off some steam. So if this helped her, then great. But it's a sucky system all around, and I hope to God that it gets better one day. Story 3. Your yard is now our park. My partner and I purchased the house next door to my best friend. I had lived with him for close to a decade when his kids were babies, so they viewed my house as an extension of theirs, and were in and out all day, every day. I have a more flexible schedule than he and his wife, so I have them in the mornings, after school, and on days off of school. I had a pool in my yard, and because my friend's kids were still little, I installed a retractable cover and made sure it was locked so they couldn't open it. My friend's yard had one of those wood fort climbing wall swing set deals and a large sandbox. Throughout the year, we spent most evenings outside, grilling, drinking, and watching the kids play, swim, whatever. One summer day, I came home from work a little earlier than normal and started to prep for dinner. I heard a knock at my back door, which was odd since my buddy's kids never knocked. I went to see who it was and discovered a mom and 2 kids who looked to be maybe 5 to 7 years old. As I opened the door, she informed me that her kids needed to use the bathroom and that I needed to come out and get the cover off my pool. I was confused and asked her to repeat herself, and she said that her kids needed to pee and that they were hot and bored with playing in the sandbox, so I needed to open up my pool. I asked her why she was in my friend's yard and what made her think her kids were welcome to swim in my pool, or use my bathroom for that matter. She got really witchy and told me that she had moved into the house behind us and that she had watched my buddy's kids come over all the time, and I opened the pool for them. She insisted that since I was willing to open my pool for the kids next door, I should also open it for the children who lived behind me. I tried explaining the relationship between my best friend's family and mine. She claimed it didn't matter, that I had known them since birth and pretty much had helped raise them. I just needed to get to know her kids too, and it would be okay. I told her no and closed the door on her. She spent a while knocking and fussing at me through the window, and then had her kids pee in a planter on the side of the patio. When I still didn't react, she took her kids back into my friend's yard to play on the swings. I texted him to let him know what was going on. Right at the moment, he was letting his 300-pound plus worth of newfies out into the yard without noticing the unwelcome visitors. The mom starts shrieking and climbs up into the fort, leaving both kids on the swings. She starts demanding that we put the dogs inside, and how dare my friend let his dogs out into his own yard when her kids are clearly playing there. He tells her to get the F out and calls the police. When the cops arrived, she put on the whole waterworks about how her kids are just looking for friends, and my buddy's kids are somehow bullying her kids, even though they've never met. That he invited her over just to let his dogs attack her children, blah, 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 blah. They eventually move her back onto her own property, then come back later to tell us they warned her about coming back. She lived in that house for almost a year before she and her husband divorced. During that year, I had to replace the lock over the pool cover controls 3 times, having a fencing company remove a gate at the back of my property that was meant to let the lawnmower through, and eventually pay a security company to come check out the yard anytime we were going to be away for more than a few hours. We found her and her kids in our yards repeatedly, but she'd leave when we got home. What finally resolved the issue was my partner catching her in the pool. She told him she knew the man that owned the house and that he had told her it was okay to swim. He told her he was married to the man that owned the pool and that it's not okay to swim. She apparently had a bad reaction to realizing she was immersing her sons in gay water. We didn't see her again after that. Wow, okay, a bit of a surprise ending on that one with the homophobic twist. Though I guess I can't be too shocked to discover that an entitled mother is also a horrible person who discriminates against people for their sexual orientation. Oh man. But yeah, what kind of person do you have to be to just assume that you have the right to access somebody else's property and enjoy all the amenities that they have just because you have kids that are rowdy and you can't figure out what to do with them? Again, I say this time and time again, you got to learn to parent your own kids. It's nobody else's responsibility but yours. It's certainly nice when people help, and it is awesome when it takes a village and people chip in to raise kids, but you have to earn that right. You can't just waltz around and willy-nilly expect people to care for your offspring. It's totally not their job. Now, she was close when she said that the owner of the house just needed to get to know her kids a little, and then it would be okay. That would have been fine if she had went about it that way and was a proper neighbor when they first moved in, introduced herself, tried to be the kind of person that people want to spend time with. Then maybe she would have gotten an invite and they could have had a healthy relationship. But for her to just point blank assume that she deserved anything from the get-go is just beyond me. And lastly, yeah, it's her true colors really shined when I guess she feared for her life and when these 300-pound Newfoundlands were released. And she just ran up into the treehouse and left her kids to fend for themselves. This woman all around just sounds like a total loser. Please leave your stories in the comments. I'd love to make a video of them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.